Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly unsettling collection of source material. We're going to look at 4 chilling accounts, told entirely from the perspective of self-proclaimed bad guys. You know, those individuals who are actively preying on others, feeling completely secure in their own arrogance, right up until the exact moment they suddenly found the tables terrifyingly turned against them.
It's a pretty compelling question, isn't it? Like, what actually happens when the monster in the dark meets something infinitely worse? Today we are exploring this absolutely fascinating psychological arc by dissecting what goes down when perpetrators lose their illusion of control and actually become the prey. It's just a complete dismantling of the predator's psyche. And as you'll see, that shift from hunter to hunted is swift, and it is absolutely terrifying.
All right, let's jump right into our first section. The highway grifter, targeting the vulnerable.
So our first case centers on a nomadic grifter operating back in the early 2000s. This guy was a criminal who played a really dangerous game using a highly calculated, almost fully automatic formula. Seriously, it was methodical. He'd scout out these isolated small towns, intentionally looking for elderly couples who seemed physically frail or mentally vulnerable. Then, at night, he'd frantically knock on their door, claiming his car broke down and his pregnant wife desperately needed an ambulance. Once they opened the door out of sheer kindness, boom! He'd force his way in, tie them up, and rob them. It was a completely cowardly system built entirely on exploiting people's goodwill.
But then, one night, that fully automatic formula completely breaks down. He was expecting his usual target, right? A frail, vulnerable couple. But the reality he walked into was literally the stuff of nightmares. The door was answered by a toothless older woman who didn't seem panicked by his frantic story at all. In fact, she cheerfully invited him inside. And waiting in the living room was not a frail old man. Nope. It was a towering 400-pound guy named Hank, sporting a massive bushy beard and just casually holding a hunting rifle. To make matters infinitely worse, the grifter instantly noticed this horrific, unexplainable, rotting smell permeating the entire house. In a moment of just absolute pure panic, the grifter realizes he has made a fatal error and makes a desperate sprint for the door. He actually escapes the house, only to run to his getaway vehicle and find all 4 of his tires completely slashed. He is trapped, no way out. So he bolts into the dark, expansive woods behind the property, only to realize he is actively being hunted. He ends up cowering in the brush, literally holding his breath as the armed sun stomps past him in the pitch black. The so-called predator was now nothing more than terrified prey hiding in the dirt.
Okay, moving on to section 2. The Phantom Thief, the Arrogance of Invisibility.
This next story features an overnight security guard at a large strip mall who decided to abuse his power. And the crazy part? It wasn't out of desperation. It was out of sheer boredom. He essentially set up this fully automatic, consequence-free game of theft for himself. Step 1, he mapped out literally all the camera blind spots in the mall's interconnected back rooms. Step 2, he arrogantly tested them by doing silly dances in spots where he thought cameras couldn't see him, just so he could review the tapes later and confirm his invisibility. And step 3, he began methodically stealing merchandise, like expensive Vans sneakers, without leaving a single trace. The whole operation relied entirely on his total, arrogant control of the environment.
But as you can probably guess, his perfectly controlled environment quickly turned on him. On night 1, the absolute silence of the empty mall was broken by disembodied children's laughter and whispers, sounds that completely surrounded him but showed up absolutely nowhere on the security tapes. Then, the paranoia escalates massively on night 3. At 3 a.m., while he's actively trying to steal sneakers, he spots a small shadow figure waving at him from a dark aisle. He actually chases it, but it just vanishes. And then comes the ultimate breaking point. Right out of the darkness, a voice clearly whispers the guard's full, real name.
Just listen to his own words here. They perfectly capture the psychological break of a predator realizing they aren't in control. He ran out of that store, abandoned his stolen goods, and ultimately quit his job in pure terror. It's that chilling realization, right? That someone or something was intimately watching the watcher. His supposed invisibility was nothing but a complete illusion. Let's look at Section 3, the college stalker crossing the line.
Our third case analyzes a socially awkward college student. His infatuation with a group project classmate named Emily quickly devolved into obsessive, highly invasive stalking. And it is frighteningly easy to weaponize basic contact info into a fully automatic pipeline for stalking. He started with just a phone number for a school project. That automatically gave him her Snapchat and full name, which he then used to find her Instagram. By analyzing the backgrounds of her photos, he actually pinpointed her neighborhood and eventually used a reverse lookup site to get her exact home address. He began driving to her house, parking in the dark, and literally lurking outside her window multiple nights a week.
But here's where the tables turn. Emily subtly mentioned in class that she was dealing with a creepy stalker. Panicked, the perpetrator completely retreated to his grandparents' empty house, where he lived alone. And that is exactly when the counter-stalking began, escalating at a terrifying pace. Day 1, he hears a bizarre brushing and tapping against his own bedroom window at 9 p.m. Day 2, he starts seeing unidentified shapes hovering right outside his blinds. By day 5, this former predator is entirely trapped in total isolation, sitting in a dark, locked room, too terrified to even attend class or turn on a single light.
Seriously, imagine the sheer terror he must have felt when this next part happened. In the dead of night, his doorbell rings. He creeps downstairs in the pitch black. A voice on the other side tells him to open the door, and when he doesn't respond, the voice turns aggressive, commanding him to open it. As he noted himself, it wasn't a request anymore. The stalker, completely stripped of his power and control, fled his own home in sheer cowardice, running to his parents' house just to hide.
All right, our fourth section, the reverse burglar, twisted game. Let's examine a deeply unsettling case of a man who broke into houses, but not to steal electronics or jewelry. Nope, he did it strictly for the psychological thrill of the invasion. He called himself a reverse thief, basically a trespasser who breaks into empty homes just to leave bizarre, inconspicuous items behind, all to psychologically torment the residents. And he absolutely reveled in the chaos he caused. Get this, he once left a prominent pink hair tie and an eyeshadow pencil in a married couple's bathroom, and then literally hid in the bushes outside just so he could listen to them scream and fight when they got home. But the juxtaposition of his little pranks against what happened next is bone-chilling. The reverse thief suddenly starts receiving highly specific, incredibly threatening gifts inside his own supposedly secure home. While he was out leaving folded blankets and hair ties at other people's places, someone broke into his house and left a single yellow flower in a vase right on his kitchen counter. The next day, things escalate. A dead bird. Later, a toy car matching his exact vehicle. And along with those gifts were these two terrifying notes. The first one just read, "We know it was you." The second read, "We're coming for you." Just like that, the predator's arrogant game was entirely dismantled. He had always prided himself on being this invisible ghost in other people's homes. But these notes, left directly on his own kitchen counter, proved that someone had completely and utterly violated his sanctuary.
The psychological torment hits its absolute peak when he's finally packing a bag to flee. He presses his ear to the floor vent and hears shuffling. Then he actually hears muffled voices talking down in his own basement. He creeps over to the basement door, cracks it open, and hears a distinct footstep on the creaky wooden stairs. He slams the door, immediately breaks his lease, and completely abandons his home. The ending to this twisted game is truly cinematic. As he's frantically packing up his car to flee his driveway for the final time, he locks eyes with a strange, older couple standing directly across the street. He has literally never seen them before in his life. The man just stares coldly, but the older woman, she smiles, waves to him, and right there in her hand is the exact same calling card left in his kitchen, a single small yellow flower. And that brings us to Section 5, Karmic Retribution, the Hunters Hunted. Looking across all four of these cases in this explainer, a really striking, unifying pattern of reversal heavily emerges from the source material. The architecture of the predator's downfall, it's always exactly the same. It always starts with hubris and this total illusion of control.
Then, boom, they experience a sudden, inexplicable shift in power dynamics where their very own tactics are used right back against them. This instantly leads to overwhelming paranoia and isolation, and finally, an ultimate cowardly retreat. Each of these bad actors got a severe taste of their own medicine. It just proves that their power relied entirely on the vulnerability of their targets, a power that completely evaporated the second they were faced with a superior threat.
Which leaves us with the final thought to ponder. Were these terrifying reversals just cosmic karma perfectly balancing the scales? Or is it simply the statistical inevitability that if you spend enough time praying in the dark, something in the dark is eventually going to prey on you? Definitely something to think about the next time you hear a bump in the night. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep questioning what's really out there.